Alright, guys, you got 3 episodes in a row here, 3 days in a row. This is a new achievement for the podcast. Hasn't happened in quite a while. It is what it is. We're back again with one of the tastiest, most, I was going to say most popular episodes of Star Trek. Maybe not the right word, but probably one of the most well-known episodes of Star Trek. It is The Trouble with Tribbles. Great little episode. This is one of these episodes where if you know someone that's kind of interested in checking out Star Trek and you're not sure what to point them towards as a first episode for them, this is probably one of your best bets. There's a good bit of comedy in here. Great. I think this is the one for someone that's not necessarily a fan. This will probably get them into it. So let's get into it after this. Alright guys, welcome along to the episode. I am your host, Rodney Stewart. This is Sceam Me Up Botty, and we're into Star Trek, the original series, Season 2, Episode 15, The Trouble with Tribbles. Fantastic little episode. I'm going to spoil it for you, so if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend going and checking it out. The reason why this is probably one of the most well-known episodes of the original series is because on the 30th anniversary of Star Trek in 1996, the Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode Trials and Tribulations used digital techniques to insert the Deep Space Nine actors into the events of The Trouble with Tribbles, and that was insanely well done for its time. Spoilerific time here. We're getting into the plot of the episode. Essentially, I just hit my microphone, probably blew your speakers out, so sorry about that. The Enterprise, at the beginning of the episode, just summoned to Space Station K9 to guard some quadrillion grain. Now that's a huge word. I'm not going to even attempt to say it again in the rest of this episode. We'll just refer to it as grain from now on. The Undersecretary Barris calls the Enterprise on a high priority distress call for what Kirk looks at as a trivial matter. It's just a complete misuse of the system, and he's not happy that the Enterprise has been pulled into the situation to look after grain of all things. But he does relent a little bit, and he gives the guy a couple of guards. He says, that's all you're going to get. The rest of the crew are going to have a little bit of shore leave here, and it is what it is. He's not happy, and he just, throughout the episode, he just gets more and more frustrated as we go on. In the bar on the station, there's this trader, Cyrano Jones. He turns up. He's one of these guys who's just trying to sell stuff to people, and he's like the stereotypical trader, the sort of guy that opens his coat and there's like just a row of watches hanging there, that sort of thing. But he has these little creatures called Tribbles. They're just little balls of fur that just purr like kittens. It's just like the effect they have on people is that they relax people, and they're completely harmless according to Cyrano Jones. Lieutenant Uhura, of course, falls in love with one of these things. She gets one, takes it back to the Enterprise. Throughout the episode, on both the space station and the Enterprise, the Tribbles begin reproducing rapidly, and again they make these little coon noises, and they're loved by the Enterprise crew. Everybody's just chilling out. There's, as I say, Kirk gets more and more annoyed as we go through the episode. It's just every time you come on to the Enterprise, there's more and more of these things sitting about. The bridge completely covered on them at one point, and one of the guys sitting at the helm is just, he's not doing his job. He's sitting there petting this little Tribble, and Kirk's getting annoyed, and he already has a couple in his arms, lifting them different parts of the bridge, and then he rips this one out of your guy's hands, and more or less just gives him the nod, get back to work, sort of thing. Even to the extent where he goes to sit down in the captain's chair, there's a little squeak, and he jumps up, and there's a Tribble sitting in the chair. Some great comedy moments with the Tribbles. Spock, however, does notice that Tribbles jump and screech in disgust when they are around Klingons. They have also showed up on the station, which puts the stress at even higher levels for Kirk. Doesn't trust them in the slightest. They're always on the verge of war, fighting and whatnot. This can't end well. But Spock does realise that if a Klingon comes within reach of one of these Tribbles, they normally they're content, they're chilled out, they're purring, But whenever a Klingon shows up, they get agitated. Back in the station, a drunken Klingon starts a fight. This is probably one of my favourite sequences in the episode. You've got Chekhov, Scotty, a couple of other members of the Enterprise crew sitting minding their own business. The Klingons show up in the bar, and the Klingon officer decides, and I do believe it's the main officer, what do you call him? Captain Koloff. I think it was the actual Captain Koloff. He's running his mouth in the background trying to get a response from the Enterprise crew, and he is insulting Captain Kirk, calling him all these different sorts of names. Chekhov is starting to get really annoyed at this point, and he wants to start a fight with the Klingons. But Scotty is sitting there, and he is the voice of reason in this episode at this point. And every time Chekhov goes to make a move, Scotty grabs him by the arms, sits him down again. He's like, settle yourself, son. Don't worry about it. It's just words. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. He's just trying to play the whole thing off. And the Klingon then makes the big mistake with Scotty. At one point he says that the Enterprise itself should be hauling garbage, and Scotty then gets annoyed because of all the insults towards Kirk, Scotty was sitting there, no, it's okay, he can have his own opinion, it is what it is. As soon as the guy starts insulting the Enterprise, Scotty starts getting annoyed then, and the Klingon's like, the Enterprise should be hauling garbage, that's all it's good for. And Scotty's like, laddie, would you like to rephrase that? And the Klingon's like, yes, of course, I don't mean that the Enterprise should be hauling garbage. I meant to say that the Enterprise should be hauled away as garbage. At this point, Scotty jumps up, decks the guy, the whole bar breaks out into a fight. People are getting through over tables and whatnot, and just it's a fiasco. And you get a little bit more slapstick humour from Cyrano Jones, where he's the trader guy that's always trying to get a deal, and if you can get something for free, he is more than happy to do that. So he's taking the best of the situation with this fight going on, and he's slipping in behind the bar to get free drinks. He's pouring himself drinks and downing them. The barman has ran out looking for the security officers, and just it's well done, this whole sequence. So the result of the brawl between the Klingons and the humans forces Kirk to cancel shore leave. Barris, the guy that brought them there in the first place, he's terrified of possible Klingon interference with the grain project that he's doing, and he suspects Jones of being a Klingon agent, the Cyrano Jones guy. Uh, Dr. McCoy and Spock are concerned that the increasing number of Tribbles threatens to consume all the food aboard the Enterprise. Kirk realizes that the Tribbles on the station could be a threat to the grain shipment. At this point in the episode, he's even went as far as, I don't think we should be doing this whole grain thing. It's just what it is, and this great. This should be somebody else's job. We're more important than this. But Starfleet has actually just, come on, told him, like, you, from here on in, you're solely responsible for this grain. Nothing happens to it, more or less. So, yes, he's deeply invested at this point. So they beam down to the station. When he opens the overhead storage compartment, he's buried chest deep and grain gorged Tribbles. They've already got in there eating everything. Spock and McCoy discover that many of the Tribbles in the hold are dead or dying, suggesting that the grain has been poisoned. So yes, this is there's a lot of stuff in this episode I'm not really covering. Like, you need to go and watch it for yourself. Barris, now infuriated, vows to see Kirk punished for the fiasco that's happened on board the station, while an equally outraged Koloff demands an apology from Kirk for what he considers disrespectful treatment of his crew. The arguments are cut short whenever Barris's assistant, Arnie Darvin, I didn't know his first name was Arnie. Let's just say Darvin. This guy Darvin walks in. He's the assistant to Barris, just a wee background character up to this point. Walks into the room, and the Tribbles react as if in the presence of a Klingon. McCoy does a little reading with the tricorders and whatnot, and he reveals Darvin to be a Klingon disguised as a human. Darvin confesses to having poisoned the grain himself. So, yeah, there's if you want to know more about the grain, check out the episode itself. Like, I want to talk about the episode, but I'm not going to go that deep, and I'm going to destroy the whole episode for you. Although I kind of have at this point. So at the end of the episode, Darvin, he's caught out in his games, shows that the Klingons aren't there for shore leave. They're there to screw up this here grain shipment that's going to some sort of planet that they're heavily invested in. Jones, the trader that brought the Tribbles to the station in the first place, he's ordered to remove all the Tribbles from the station, a task that Spock estimates will take 17.9 years with the amount of creatures that are there and how quickly they multiply. Aside of that there, he's going to face charges for transporting dangerous life forms. So just before the Klingons depart at the end of the episode, all the Tribbles aboard the Enterprise have mysteriously vanished. And Kirk's like, what the heck happened here? How did you get rid of them all? And everybody's trying to keep quiet about it. They're not sure how he's going to react at the news of where the Tribbles are now at. And Scotty's like, don't worry, sir. I dealt with it. I got rid of them. Kirk is getting more and more annoyed because he's not getting an answer. And he's even to the point of starting to shout. He's like, where are they? And, Scotty's like, don't worry, Captain. I used the transporter. Kirk's like, you didn't beam those poor things out into deep space. And Scotty is like, no, sir. Before the Klingons went into warp, I transported all the Tribbles to the engine room, where there'll be no trouble at all. Great little line at the end of the episode. It's like, I beamed the whole kit and caboodle into the Klingons' engine room, where there'll be no trouble at all. The trouble with Tribbles. Class little episode. I'm not going to go too far into the reception of this thing, because as far as I remember, it was pretty decent. hold on, here's something as far as reception goes. While initial fan reaction to the episode was mixed, it was more popular with the general public. There you go. Like as I said at the beginning of the review here, this is the episode where if someone's kind of interested in Star Trek and never watched it before, this is probably one of these ones that it would appeal to someone that's not necessarily into this sort of show. So yeah, there's the reception there straight away. That's a fan reaction mixed, more popular with the general public. Critical response to the episode was positive, and it was nominated for a Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation, which instead went to fellow Star Trek episode, The City in the Age of Forever. It has since been included in several best of episode lists and features, including as part of the best of DVD collection, along with 3 other episodes. It has also been released as part of the season 2 DVD box set. There's a lot of stuff here. The New York Times described the scene with Kirk and the Tribbles in the grain container as one of the best remembered moments of the series. Time magazine ranked Trouble of Tribbles as the 6th best moment in Star Trek. IGN ranked it the 5th best episode of the original series, while Tech Republic ranked it the 4th best. AV Club included The Trouble of Tribbles and a list of 10 must-see episodes. And USA Today listed it as one of the 3 best. In 1998, The Trouble of Tribbles was listed as the 8th best cult moment of all time by the Times newspaper. And a list of the top 100 episodes of the Star Trek franchise, The Trouble of Tribbles was placed 6th by Charlie Jane Anders. Zach Handlin, here we go again. He's always shows up in these. His review, July 2009, gave the episode a grade of A. Cyril Jones was Hanlon's least favourite part of the episode, and with the exception of that character, it was one of the better scripts seen in the original series. He thought that despite the lack of sense of real danger, the plot all comes together neatly, and praises the story's effects on Kirk, saying the way the episode unfolds means Kirk's constantly dealing with things he doesn't really want to deal with, and there's a surprising moment of enjoyment to be had in seeing him complain about it all to Spock. Yeah, there's a mess load of stuff here. Like if I went through everything as far as the reception and the critiques of the episode, we're going to be here all night. But safe to say, more people loved it than hated it. And it's definitely one of those episodes that, if you want to be a completist of Star Trek, this is definitely, you want to see this episode, because whenever you get into DS9, like, that is perhaps the one series of Star Trek that I've not seen a lot of. Just whenever it was on TV back in the day, I had a lot going on, didn't always have time to sit down and check it out. So that's the one. There's a lot of holes for me in DS9, but everyone says it. Probably DS9 is probably one of the best series ever made of Star Trek. Once you get into that there, you're going to get hooked. That's partly the reason I haven't sat down properly at this point to get into it, because I know I'm going to get sucked down the rabbit hole of DS9. So once you get into that there, and you hit that episode of DS9, it's the 30th anniversary of Star Trek, Trials and Tribulations. The DS9 crew get transported back in time and actually end up in this episode, and they used digital techniques to actually blend the actors into the actual episode itself. Like, there's nothing reshot really as far as the crew of the original series. Everything you see in the DS9 episode is directly this one. They just digitally put these guys into the scenes along with the 60s counterparts. Absolutely flipping great. So you definitely need to check out this episode whenever you get sucked down the rabbit hole. It'll make that episode of DS9 a lot more enjoyable if you can remember this original episode. So I think that's going to do it for this episode, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a little rating review, share it along, do all that good social media stuff. Check out my other content on coinsagemedia.com, and if you want to contact the show directly, hit up that email, sceammeupbotty@gmail.com. And yes, stay safe, guys, and I will talk to you on the next episode. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.